Hello, and this is the Braxcast, our second episode of this podcast. And to start it off, I figure I'd show off this awesome new logo that I got done up over the week. I think it looks great, looks dope. This is going to really solidify the Braxcast as an actual thing in my mind. But I'm going to leave this intro real quick because we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. The first thing being these two big announcements from the Rippaverse that we got, and of course the first one is Rippasend. So basically, Rippa is using his warehousing operation that he's built the experience in doing that to build a highly specialized free PL that does general consulting, campaign hosting, publishing, storefront fulfillment. I think this is a great thing, not only as just a way for Rippa to expand his business, make the warehouse more of a thing, get a more intimate relationship with printers and all these sorts of things to make his business and of course, independent businesses more profitable and sustainable. It's a cool thing just in general. For I'd say the community of people who like independent books having a good free PL that's very specialized in doing these sorts of things and that has a good bit of a draw to it, I think is a good thing. And now I have heard they do novels as well. That's something they're looking into. So I definitely got my application in on that. But that's something more. Getting into the nuts and bolts of the business thing is not what I necessarily want to talk about on the Braxcast. This is all about the comic books, and we've got a big one to talk about, Yaira. So this winter is here. It got cut off when I printed it. I made that mistake. I probably should have reprinted it, but we're going with it. I think this is a good one of Yaira. March 11th, as you can see, is when the pre-order campaign for Yaira launches. And this is exciting. I think as soon as Item 1 was announced and became a thing, she was the character that had a lot of draw. She had, I think, 2 cosplayers in the year of 22 during the convention season, because Item was July of 22, if I have it correctly, when that book pre-order campaign launched. So it was right during convention season. There were people who were cosplaying Yaira during that convention season. It happened in 2022. So she's a character that got a lot of draw. People love her design. People love the lore. People want to find out more about her, and we will be sometime after March 11th. Of course, March 11th, we'll be able to pre-order the book. We're getting the next big Rippaverse Studios production, which when he says production, and here's her Dokumon card. This is a great card. So you can read all of the Dokumon cards. I scanned these all, and they're all on the wiki. The Rippaverse wiki link will be in the description of this video wherever you're watching it. And I got a little bit of a tangent here, but Rippaverse wiki's got information on Yaira, information on everything, but it's very much incomplete. Need more editors. I'm an admin on that Rippaverse wiki, so the link will be in the description, like I said. But to get back on the topic of Yaira, Yaira is a 6'3", 215-pound ancient alien woman. So the character just being that, inherently interesting. So to have her own book on why she's coming back to Forest Park, why she left in the first place, getting more insight of the beef between her and Brian Solari is intensely interesting. So I'm really excited for this one. And to bring it back to Rippaverse Studios, their next big production. Now when he says production, I didn't say big production, but it says the next production from Rippaverse Studios, which leads me to think this is more than just the trailer for Yaira 1. This is actually going to be maybe a 10 to 15 minute short that dives deep into Yaira's character, maybe even Isam's character, that first day of the ill-advised arc, basically. So that first, what Item 1 covers, doing a deep dive into that would be an interesting thing for an animated short to do, if that is the case, and it's not just the trailer for Yaira 1, which is also just could be a possibility as well. But it being a big 10-minute short, or it being a trailer for Yaira 1, we'll have to wait until the 11th to find out. I'm filming this on Saturday. It's when it will go up, so we'll have about, I believe, 9 days to go until we get to experience the chill of Yaira Winter. And I don't really have much more to say on it than that. Just some speculation just cementing the fact that I am hyped. But the next thing we're going to go into are these questions of the day. So now I follow the X account, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, for Ripaverse. And of course, they have these questions of the day. They've been doing them for a while. I think there's about 5. And we're going to go through all of these, and I'm going to read them out, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Well, I'm going to give you an answer to them. The first one being, what kind of productions are you anticipating from Ripaverse Studios? So, if you watch Hump Day Potpourri, my co-host Doc is 100% certain that the first movie, big adaptation for the Ripaverse, is going to come out in 2025. I think it'll be after that, but the way I want Ripaverse Studios to basically become a thing in terms of the longer form content is to have a big theatrical production, as in, you get this 90-minute to 2-hour movie that establishes something that can run into a Ripaverse animated series. And I think that would be the best thing to do. So you could have like Isom Ill-Advised, and it would be a epic animated movie that goes over those first 3 books. You could maybe do it in 2 parts. So you could do 2 90-minute movies, or 1 2-hour movie, 1 90-minute movie, to make it digestible to the audience. But I think that is what I would really love to see the most, is a big movie or 2 movies that establishes the animated Ripaverse lore that follows the comic books, of course, and then launches into an animated show that can be streamed, or you can buy the DVDs or I guess Blu-rays on that. I think that would be epic, and that is what I am anticipating from Ripaverse Studios in terms of just having a nice, good animated show and movie to watch. That's really what I want, and that's how I want them to do it, and that's how I want them to start. I want them to do 2D animation, because that's going to be able to look the most faithful to the comics, and it's also going to be a lot cheaper than doing a live action thing. But that's the first question. We're moving right on to the second question. Is, who's your favorite Accept and supporting character so far? Now, there's a lot of Accepts I like. I do love Yaira, of course, Yaira Winter, but I love Braxwell, Jeremiah Braxwell. He's a cool character. I love his design. I named the podcast after this. Also, Braxcast does sound like Flashcast, does sound like Trashcast, and also it just flows a lot better than saying it like Isomcast or whatever. But I love Braxwell as a character. He's a very strong silent type. He has some epic two pitch spreads in Alpha Core 1, with him fighting against Galvin, him saving civilians at the end of the book with the Eagle's Nest. A bit of a spoiler there, but Braxwell is a cool character. So if I have to go with a favorite Accept, it's probably going to be either Braxwell or Yaira, but probably Braxwell edges her out just a little bit. And supporting character so far, I would say Sam Willard, that's his last name, went over the concept art book, and Demon08, who's also an admin of the Ripaverse book. He does a lot more for that wiki than I do. Made that correction for me, so very appreciative of that. But yeah, I would say Sam Willard is probably my favorite supporting character, and then either, I guess, Vassie Silman, Isom's niece, or her mother, Altona, are good characters as well. And Cedric Gaucho as well is a very notable one. I think he's got a lot to do in terms of doing world building for the Ripaverse, especially when the SSWL is involved. You have Larry Shungai, who appears in Isom 2, and if you read Isom 1, you know that Cedric Gaucho has done work with the SSWL, so I'm sure he's going to come into that moving forward as we get more, books out. But we're going into the next one. The next question of the day: if Eric were to drop an ill-advised omnibus, what would you prefer the most? So I put some thought into this, and here is my answer. I would like the first 3 issues of Isom. It's going to be the 3-parter series Ill-Advised arc as one regular omnibus, just those pages in a trade paperback, and that's the mass print common version. Now you have a special hardcover one. That's the same thing, those first 3 books collected, as well as the concept art book that came with Isom 1, all those pages, and expand that to include like Lincoln Spuzio and Larry Shungai, and maybe some stuff from Alpha Core 1 and hell, even Yaira 1 as well. That establishment series of Ripaverse, and also, putting, stuff for Gooding as well. Basically, new stuff from Isom 2, and I'm sure there will be stuff in Isom 3 that'll show up. So do an expanded Isom concept art book that includes everything from that first campaign's book and expand upon it with ISOM 2, ISOM 3, and have that be a special hardcover that's a limited edition, like they're doing with The Art of Joe Bennett, do like 2,000 copies, and then have, and I would say alongside this mass print that's just those $3. That's what I would love for an ill-advised omnibus. That is personally how I would do it. I think that would be the best thing to do. It makes the collectors happy. It gives a great option for people to get into it in a way that's going to be the cheapest as possible, just collecting the free, doing a regular trade paperback. So I think that's the best of both worlds for me personally. But we're going to go right into the next question. We have comics and merch, but what would you like to see next? And I think the big thing is probably video games. But in terms of like the next big thing for them to make that aren't comics or merch, but other than that, I think the more realistic thing would be 2D animated stuff, whether that's shorts coming out consistently. I would definitely like to see the Rippaverse members site be overhauled and have more stuff going on with it. I think that's another more realistic thing than making video games. But video games is what goes out to me, like a Yaira game that is in the style of God of War or something like that would be epic. Or it'll be nice, but like a Yaira game because you can fly and shoot ice for freaking fingertips. That would be a fun comic book character to play in video game form and have like a meaty 40-hour single player story featuring her. That's what I would love to see. So that's honestly the biggest thing. But I think realistically would be 2D animated shorts coming out consistently and more functionality on the Rippaverse members app, or have a Rippaverse members app and site and imbue that with a lot of cool functionality that keeps you drawn in when you're not reading the comics. But we're going to go right on to the last question of the day. What do you think is the most sensible reason Darren Fontano doesn't fear Avery? And I think it's just pure arrogance. He's very self-confident in himself. I guess I would say a narcissist. He has a very controlling, domineering personality, and that shows through basically everything that he does. And ISOM 1, he talks about an empire. Like, I don't know how empires are constantly being built, and it's not about it being an organization that has X, Y, or Z. It's the respect. It's the fear you can inspire into people. That's what he's getting at. And I think that's honestly why he does the things that he does, is to be feared and respected, or just, respected in terms of, I'm going to not get in this guy's way because he's going to get me snuffed, or he's going to get me killed, or he's going to get me beat. So I have to give him the money when he asks. I have to, mop his floors when he asks me to, because I'm scared of him. And I think Darren operates on the fact that every single person has to think of him like that, and if they doesn't, that's a severe misstep. And that's why when he gets his ass handed to him by Lincoln Lucio in the beginning of ISOM 2, that's a big blow to his ego, because that's a direct conflict to that image of himself that he has. And that's why he doesn't fear Avery, because he's like, well, there's just some kid I went to high school with, and even if he is a bit strong, I can get a Santuan or someone else to hand his ass out. Even though that might all fall apart in terms of him having Santuan specifically. But I do think Darren will be able to get plenty of accepts on his payroll, and he thinks, I can get these accepts on my payroll. I don't need to fear any physical confrontation that Avery could try and pull on me, even if he is an accept, even if he is stronger. That doesn't necessitate him fearing him, because he has ways to deal with accepts. And that's really what it leads into. So he's thinking anything that Avery could do is something I can deal with, and also the fact that people should be fearing me, people should be respecting me, people should be just getting on their knees and kissing the ground that I walk on, because I'm so great. I'm the owner of Club Merc. I'm going to build an empire out of Forest Park. And that's really what Darren is thinking. And anything that challenges that worldview is just going to go away. And it's just because, and if it hasn't, it's just because he hasn't gathered the resources to make that happen yet. And I think that's really going to be an interesting arc to go to, of course, as he becomes more powerful, as he becomes more what he thinks of in his head. And I do think that would be a really interesting mini series or a hell ongoing series, something like a Chronicles of Club Mark. I do think there's a lot of like gang related street level stuff that would be really interesting for a lot of people to read and sink their teeth on. Um, Something like a Chronicles of Club Merc, calling it that, just something that follows Darren's gang and him building it and making it the empire that he wants it to be. Because he mentions that in Isom 1. I think that's very much Eric telling you what Darren's intentions of a character are, rather than just him being someone who wants to be like a generic crime lord and just, have drugs and girls do things that make him feel good. He wants this power, control, and influence for reasons that are a bit more deeper than that, not just because he's bad to do bad. He wants power, control, and influence. Maybe it's to serve someone else. Maybe he has some past trauma. He's using that to cope with. Who knows? But I do think that's the thing, is that he's got this idea in his mind that he has to be the emperor of Forest Park and no one's going to get in his way. And that's why he doesn't fear Avery, and that's why he doesn't fear anybody, because he thinks, I can find some way to get what I want, and I can pay people to keep me safe, even from Excepts, because he does have Excepts on his payroll, and I doubt Santuan is the only Except he can get to be his bodyguard. And I think with that, I'm going to end the second episode of the Braxcast here. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Yaira 1 is coming soon. I don't have too much to say on that, except it's coming soon, March 11th, and I am really excited for it. There's so much that Yaira can happen with Yaira as a character, and we're going to find out about that really soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the